forgot to paint it.
What the hell?
Hello everybody, my name is John. Welcome back to the Aldranak channel, and welcome new Life of Palos followers. Hello. It's truly humbling to see all of your comments coming over from the Life of Palos channel. Yesterday and today has been an amazing couple of hours, a very exciting couple of hours, and you know, even if 2 or 3 of you had come over to this channel, I would have been ecstatic, and quite a few of you have, so thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's not Stradman related or something like that, but there will be plenty more videos like that coming out in the future. This one is a bit of an interesting one. I hope you enjoy it nevertheless. So today we are talking about Stephan. Stephan is a YouTuber that talks about finance, that talks about real estate, and now talks a lot more about the stock market amidst the financial calamities that the last few months have brought about. I've been binging his channel recently after his podcast with Stradman. I'd watched him before a little bit, I knew about him, and I had watched a few videos, but I never really got into him, and following that amazing Stradman podcast, it just made me want to binge watch all of his videos. And one of the key things that kind of comes up is that this man has a portfolio, like a net worth of around about $13 million, and that gets you thinking, and he does claim to be a car guy, it gets you thinking, what kind of cars does this guy have? It's like, if I had a net worth of $13 million, I would have spent the majority of it. I mean, I could spend it with one car. You buy one Pagani Zonda R, and it's done. This is probably why I don't have 13 million and Graham does, because he's a lot more sensible with his money than myself, and unfortunately probably the rest of us. Now, if you actually know about Stephan, you probably know what kind of cars he has, and you probably know that he doesn't have that many of them, but there are reasons why he doesn't have that many of them, and there are reasons for every single car, and I want to go in depth on them because he's one of the more interesting YouTubers that buys cars. He's not just buying supercars to do a wrap and an exhaust. There is a whole financial story behind each car and a personal story behind each car. So let's get into it. Stephan's car collection. So Graham's first car is a very typical LA car. It may make Graham lose a few respect points for a lot of you, but I think I can respect it. He bought a Toyota Prius, whatever.
Toyota says its newest Prius is the most environmentally friendly car ever produced. The secret? It kills its driver.
Now, I could talk a lot about the Prius. I actually may have done a geography project once on why a Prius is actually worse than an equivalent petrol Toyota over a 5-year ownership period. It was very fun to make. I will admit I did enjoy that geography project. But the Prius does make sense. Yes, you can question whether it's actually better than a petrol car for the environment, but in reality, the Prius is just good because it gets good gas mileage, or petrol mileage as we would say here in the UK. And I believe there were a lot of incentives around the earlier years of that car to buy one as a hybrid because it was seen as better for the environment. His Prius was in a pretty badass spec, you might say. Black on black, it looked like it had blacked out taillights on a Prius. Still looks like a loaf of bread. I don't really have any more to say about the Prius. It's actually quite an interesting car when you get into it, but yeah, humble beginnings, there you go. The next car that we learn about is his Lotus Elise in a nice kind of bright orange color with 2 black stripes. It's a very stereotypical sports car looking sports car. However, these things are very rare, and they're especially rare in the US. They've actually stopped selling the kind of Exige and Elise models in the US, so they're very hard to come by there. And the cool thing about Lotus is that Graham admits that he actually didn't care at all about cars before he saw a Lotus.
I didn't give a shit about cars.
And when he saw a Lotus, he became into cars. So it's kind of cool that he owned the car that got him into cars. And these cars are very unappreciated. I think because Lotus as a brand doesn't have the same sort of prominence as a brand like Porsche, like Ferrari, like Lamborghini. Everyone knows the Ferrari badge. That's why everyone online is flexing their Lamborghini course.
Here in my garage
is flexing their Ferrari course. No one's flexing their Lotus course. Maybe because they never made it there because it broke down at this stage. But actually not anymore. Okay, maybe an older Esprit, but not anymore, because one of the cool facts that I meant to mention about this car is that they have Toyota engines. They're from like a Celica and stuff like that. In the Exige, it's like a Celica engine, but with a supercharger, so it's about 240 horsepower. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, Graham loved this car, and I think it fitted him quite perfectly because a lot of people don't fit in Lotuses that well. I discovered that last year when I tried getting in an Elise. How did I get hold of this thing? They are. they're actually quite tight to get into. It's kind of like if you've ever seen a car with a carbon tub, they've got this huge tub area while you're trying to get in, and so you've got to like bring your leg over it. It's really hard to get in and out of, even for me, and I'm not like a huge guy. So Graham, being smaller, is actually in quite a lucky position because it's quite easy for him to get in and out of the car. And talking about the financial side of things, Graham loves saving money. As much as I like cars, he likes saving money. So he bought this car for $30,000, he put 7,000 miles on it and sold it 2 years later for $30,000. That's a pretty good deal. You basically are owning a really nice sports car for free, which is awesome. And that spurred him a few years later to buy the Lotus Exige S240. This is an amazing car. I personally loved it because of an episode of Top Gear where Jeremy Clarkson is hunted down by an Apache helicopter gunship, and the whole premise of it is that a Lotus is like a fly, so it can kind of dart its way so that the helicopter can never actually missile lock on him. The car did get blown up. Jeremy Clarkson unfortunately did die that day, but I'd like to believe that it wasn't actually the car's fault, it was probably just Jeremy's fault. Also, unfortunately, I cannot show you that footage because last time I tried showing some BBC footage, I got an immediate copyright strike, which is fair enough, I should expect. So I will do a rendition.
Hello, this is Jeremy Clarkson and I'm driving the brand new Lotus Exige. I could swear this car turns better than any car. Pause. In the world. Oh no! An Apache attack helicopter gunship. Not to fear. I'm a really good driver. Oh no, helicopter gunship. Don't use the missile. Missiles locking. Oh, you blue bottom blue.
The Exige S240 is one of those kind of perfect cars. I personally think it's one of the more perfect track cars. Yes, one of the issues with it, if you're going on a track like the Nürburgring, is it's not very safe. These things do not come with really that many driver aids, and they don't really come with high levels of safety measures. But if you were a rich millionaire, it's actually probably a lot better than tracking something like a GT3 RS, which is still, you know, that's like a £150,000 car that you're taking on track. That's a lot of risk. Track insurance is quite expensive, and so most people don't actually end up getting it. The Exige is perfect for that sort of stuff. And this car by far is my favorite one that he's ever owned. There's a guy near me that drives one about my area all the time. He was really cool. Now I love the fact that Graham owns a Lotus. It kind of seems like the perfect car for him to own. Yes, Graham is a millionaire, and in that respect he is a guy that's living life to the full, but he's not really an adrenaline junkie. Like, he's not trying to go out there and do massive power slides and drifts everywhere and live life to extremes in that regard. So it's kind of the perfect car for him because yes, it's a sports car, it's beautiful, it drives incredibly, but he doesn't need that kind of attention and stuff that a Lamborghini gets. And also it's a 1.8 litre Toyota engine, and I'd like to believe that he probably was heavily sold by the fact that it is a Toyota engine. It's much more reliable, it's predictable, and there's not much risk with it, and I feel that Graham probably really likes that. And I always see jokes whenever anyone advertises the MPG rating of a supercar that like who actually cares about it. I do think that Graham is a guy that does care about it, even if he has a net worth of 13 million. I think it's just something he's wired to care about. And so he did mention in his video about his Exige that he loves the fact that it still gets 15 mpg whenever you're driving it hard. And to put that in perspective, a Lamborghini Murcielago, if you were driving literally like perfectly, you know, you're doing like 50 miles an hour on the highway the whole time at the lowest of the lowest RPMs, you would still struggle to get about 15. You know, you might get 20 at a miracle if you're going down loads of hills, but it's very unlikely. Another cool thing about this car is something I mentioned earlier, is that the fact that there really aren't that many of them in the US. And I did say Graham probably isn't the kind of guy that likes attention, but this car does still get a lot of attention in the US because people don't really know what it is. They think it's some sort of cool small little Ferrari thing, I'm guessing. In the UK, everybody knows what a Lotus is. It's a cool little sports car, but people are bemused. They're like, what on earth is this thing? And it definitely does look expensive, so people come over, they're asking you if you're a celebrity.
How you doing?
Good.
So are you a celebrity? What's your name? Hey, well, who's your celebrity?
It's kind of cool, I guess. But cooler than that to me is this little tight-knit community of Lotus drivers. Apparently there's a lot of camaraderie with all of the Lotus gang in LA, and they're always going to say hi to each other, they're always going to beep the horn, and I just think that's so cool. It would be so cool to have a car that you can drive about in, and you're part of this little gang that if you know, you know. The Lotuses, I believe he paid for in full, but that does make a lot of sense. I mean, he certainly has the money to do it. It's not really going to hinder him from investing in other stuff. And he knew after buying the first Lotus that the next Lotus would do completely fine with residual value. So it makes sense. You know, there's not really any reason to go for a lease on this car. Whereas if you're buying brand new cars and then trying to get into another brand new car maybe 2 years later, he recommends that you should lease. And this is what I've always been told as well. It just makes much more sense. I'm not going to explain that fully in this video, but I'll leave a link to Graham's video in the description below. Also, nearly forgot, I think this is probably the only time I have the excuse to say, smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. It would certainly help out a lot. Oh, and I almost forgot to tell you, one of Graham's favorite features about the Exige S is the fact that it has a cup holder. His original Elise did not have one. It's a really cool looking one. It looks kind of like aluminium, and in America, where cup holders are just standard in pretty much every single car, and the trucks have like 16 cup holders, not having a cup holder is a grave deprivation.
That's what I'm saying. Look at that. 2 small Wendy's drinks barely fit in this cup holders. That is just wrong.
He also said, I've got a whole list here, he wants to get a carbon splitter, carbon side skirts, carbon side scoops, and a carbon wing. But, of course, even though he has like $13 million, he doesn't want to spend that much money because he thinks he's going to go down a deep hole. I think he's just wired to never be financially irresponsible, and he probably just never wants to get out of that loop in case it kind of trickles into other areas, and I can understand that. You know, a lot of people looking at Graham from an outsider perspective might think that it's kind of crazy, but whenever you think about it like that, it kind of makes sense. And the reason why I wanted to make this video in the first place is actually because they forgot to mention in the video of him with Stradman that both of them owned Elises. I think that's kind of cool. I don't know how both of them met, but that's quite a cool thing in America where Lotuses are very rare, to know someone else that not only is also a YouTuber with millions of subscribers, but also owned this really unique sports car. His one quirk with the Lotus Exige was that it has that little child release in the boot in case a child gets stuck in the boot. All American cars seem to have this, even on cars where it seems literally impossible and implausible that a child would ever get into it. It's mandatory. So I guess it makes sense. Doug DeMuro always talks about this in vehicles, especially cars like the Bugatti Chiron, which doesn't have one because it's got like a little divider in the middle. And one of the things he hates about the car is that you can't see out the back of it, because I believe that car actually has a bit of a roof scoop down to the supercharger, and also the supercharger takes up loads of space. So yeah, essentially seeing out of the back is useless, and he's also got a custom exhaust on it, so it's a very drony car. I mean, they literally took out all of the sound deadening in this thing. It's like driving a race car on the street. So he admits he knew what he's getting himself into. He's basically driving a race car that will deafen him. And moving on from the Lotus Exige is a car that I'm pretty sure he must have leased. It's a Mercedes C-Class. He never specified if it's like a C250 or something like that. It's not a C43, it's not a C63, so expect it to probably just be like a mid-range petrol normal version. I believe, maybe, is that C200 maybe? I don't even know, okay? It's a nice car. But he moved on from it into something much more interesting. Immediately after watching a video about the brand new Tesla Model 3 whenever it just came out, he decided to spec one up, and then he decided to put an order in. Now these cars were about 35,000, he put 2,000 into extras, he got things like sound system and stuff like that, which just made sense. I mean, it's not a lot of money for a lot of stuff. And I believe because he was using the car as a business expense and a couple of other things like tax incentives, and also incentives from where he lives in LA itself, where you get like a couple thousand if you buy an electric car, his eventual price went from $640 per month to like $78. There's actually a full video of him going around the Tesla after he picked it up on the Anthony's Garage channel. He's a friend of F-Spot. You may have seen his Huracan. I believe his Huracan was on worst spec as well, because he's yellow with red wheels. It's not good, but he knows that it's not good, so it's fine. And essentially they were going around the Tesla with a really bright light, and they found that the car had actually been sanded down with really aggressive sandpaper, so the car had all of these blotches around the car which needed buffed, and also the bit just above the number plate where you'd have to look up to see in the car wasn't even painted. The paint gun just must have not actually reached there.
They forgot to paint this.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I thought it was dirt,
What?
but it's not painted.
Holy crap, dude, you're right.
They didn't get the gun in here.
So there's some Tesla quality control issues which you never really know about whenever you initially get the car, because apparently they're caked in dust. So that's an issue with Tesla. I don't think it was really much of an issue for him though, because he wrapped the car matte black. I think it has some little lime green accents, and I believe he also got new wheels on it. It's about all you can do to an electric car, because you can't really tune these things other than maybe just a quick ECU tune. That's about it. So yeah, $78 for a Tesla. He's always trying to save money in every aspect of life, and I found it one of the more interesting collections. You know, while everyone's trying to flex all their money and show that they're spending as much money as possible online, here Stephan is spending money concisely and well on the things that he really loves. And I think that's kind of refreshing, and I also think it's really useful to watch, especially in this time, as we're in a time of a lot of financial uncertainty. It just makes sense to be good with your money, and Stephan is very much an example that I think we should all follow. I'm going to impose a brand new Millenial Motors scoring system. Our first one up is of course Stephan. I'm going to give this a Millenial Motors score of smash the like button. And if you put that into a quantifiable amount, I'm going to give it an 11 out of 10, because smashing the like button always exceeds a YouTuber's expectations, and Graham has just done that. His car selection is so intelligent. So that's Stephan's car collection. Thank you very much everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Life of Palo subscribers, thank you again. And actually, yeah, let's just talk a little bit more about that Life of Palo shout out, because it was amazing. I think we may have been shouted out in Life of Palos last night. I was talking to him yesterday about YouTube Rewind, so I literally just woke up. I meant to stay up till 4 AM to watch it, but I didn't. But it's just the way things go, guys. Let's have a look.
Life of Palos, one of the most trusted beard and automotive news. A great start for a couple brand new automotive YouTube channels. So for today's episode, I picked out 3 separate automotive channels from sort of all this creator that we're going to talk about, and partially the reason why we're discussing some new creators today is Auto Anorak. I mean, some prominence, like 6 or 7 ago, by doing a video basically going through every single car that Stradman has ever owned.
That was good.
Offering is just everything that is good about automotive YouTube.
Aww, that's really nice.
Make sure to watch the 2020 Rewind. That video obviously took an insane number of hours to complete.
Yeah, it did. Thank you so much. I mean, that shows Aaron is one of the nicest guys in the car community. I texted him yesterday. I didn't think anything would come of it. I literally thought I would have to do a TikTok campaign or something, which I was gonna do. My morning voice. Oh, sorry guys. This feels surreal. It doesn't feel real that Auto Anorak was just on a Life of Palos video. Wow. I mean, it's ridiculous. Thank you so much. More than a dream come true. Yeah. Wow. I just got on Life of Palos. So that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope you all have a lovely new year. Let's pray for a better 2021. And I'll see you in the next video.
Pause. In the world.